I am in charge of organizing the graduation trip. After tough negotiations, I secured a high-end customized tour for 2,000 yuan per person. But the class monitor blew up. The live stream has a summer special. 7 days for only 288. Are you trying to put diamonds on an urn? With such a big appetite, aren't you afraid of choking to death? I decisively left the group chat. The class monitor smugly led the whole class to set off. A few days later, he called, crying, "We're going to be sold to northern Myanmar. Help!" One graduation was approaching, and the whole class agreed to take a trip together to a neighboring province. As a somewhat well-known travel blogger, this task naturally fell on my shoulders. After pulling 5 all-nighters, I sent the itinerary to the class group chat. But instead of praise and recognition, the class monitor, Wang Peng, was the first to blow up. "We're just going out of province, not abroad. Why does the group fee have to cost 2,000 bucks? My monthly living expenses are only 800 yuan. And some people haven't even started working yet, but they've already learned to egg on classmates to squander their parents' hard-earned money." Wang Peng and I have some personal grudges, so he always argues with whatever I say, afraid that my classmates might misunderstand. I quickly explained. This time it's a high-end customized tour, with round-trip flights, unique goose houses, and daily meals that I've carefully selected. A normal quote would be over 5,000, and I negotiated for a long time to bring it down to 2,000. Other classmates in the group began to speak up one after another. "Class monitor, don't rush. Let's first see if everyone is satisfied with the itinerary." "Okay. Yeah, Ren D is a travel expert. I trust her judgment. But the squad leader has a point. We're still college students, and 2,000 per person is indeed a bit expensive. The neighboring province is a famous tourist resort. It boasts beautiful mountains, clear waters, and unique cuisine. There's still a gap of over a month between the thesis defense and receiving diplomas, so everyone planned a group trip well in advance. During the discussion, everyone said they had signed the offer and told me to go ahead and make arrangements. I took it seriously and readily took on the task. I spent the day preparing the presentation draft and the evenings negotiating with the bosses, all to ensure everyone had a good time. Unexpectedly, when it came time to actually pay, some people started thinking about budget travel again. Seeing that I didn't speak, Wang Peng grew even more arrogant. "I just checked the live stream room. The summer special is only 288 for 7 days. Are you kidding me? You're negotiating the price in reverse. We haven't even set off yet, and you've already pocketed 50,000 for nothing. Are you planning to stud and earn with diamonds? With an appetite that big, aren't you afraid of choking to death?" Wang Peng, afraid that others wouldn't believe him, posted a screenshot of the live stream. For a moment, the group fell silent. 2. Wang Peng had once pursued me. I still remember during military training. He always wore a pair of black frame glasses, looking fair-skinned and refined. He was the first to step up for the class, whether it was handing out military training uniforms or carrying bottles of water. Later, when he ran for class monitor, almost everyone voted for him. I was among them. 2. When he invited me to grab a meal on the pedestrian street, I promptly agreed to join him. I arrived at the restaurant 20 minutes early, and even bought 2 cups of tea. But the very first thing Wang Peng said after sitting down completely turned me off. He took a sip from the straw first. "I only spent 8 yuan on lunch at the cafeteria, but this milk tea costs 24. You're really rich." Before I could respond, he stared at my newly done nails and said, "My mom says it's not good for girls to get nail art. It contains formaldehyde, and doing it too much can cause infertility. Besides, the price per square inch of nail art is even more expensive than a house. A woman who knows how to live frugally would never be willing to spend that kind of money." That was the most painful meal I had ever eaten. When it came time to pay the bill, I tactfully indicated that I wasn't looking for a relationship at the moment. His face instantly flushed red as he demanded to know if I was trying to find a rich, older man, and asked for a bride price of 880,000. He even said it's because of gold diggers like me that so many young men can't find a good wife. Wang Peng appears to be a progressive on the surface, but in reality, He hasn't cut the queue behind his ears yet. From then on, the rift between the two of us was set, old grievances unresolved, new grudges added, based on the nickname in his screenshot. I clicked into the 288 special deal tour livestream room. I can't let Wong Peng smear on me like this. 3. The host was passionately promoting travel packages. This account has a pitifully small number of followers, not even an enterprise verification. I pretended to want to join the group, and the other party immediately asked to switch to another platform for a private chat. After opening the travel contract they sent, I became even more convinced this is a shopping group masquerading under the guise of low prices. I posted the screenshot in the group chat, and directly at Wong Peng. The contract doesn't even specify the hotel, restaurant, or mode of transportation. The neighboring province is right along the national border. By then, not only will we be forced into shopping, but there's a real risk we might not even make it back. A lot of the itinerary in this tour was arranged through promotional exchanges. If you think the budget is too high, we can switch to a bullet train or bus instead. It's both safe and cost-effective. The mood in the group has shifted. My classmates started flattering me, saying they were benefiting from my exclusive discount. Some also began asking how much the group fee could be reduced if they went on their own. To finalize the itinerary as soon as possible, I didn't even attend the dormitory dinner. Sitting intently at the computer, I replied to each message one by one. Wong Peng interrupted me, costing me some time, and I started to feel a bit anxious at everyone those who want to join the group. Hurry up and transfer the money to me for registration. I dialed my roommate's number. The three of them were having a blast at the KTV. No one noticed the phone message. They first furiously cursed Wong Peng, then hastily transferred the money over. I was methodically collecting payments and recording the information. Wong Peng started causing trouble again. This time, it wasn't just him. The whole class was in an uproar for Wong Peng suddenly tagged me in the group chat. Your so-called resource exchange is actually just collecting huge advertising fees, and you still have the nerve to ask us for money. Everyone trusts you so much, but you go and play both sides, cheating and deceiving both ends. You're truly shameless. He quickly followed up with a few new screenshots. They were chat records between him and the 288 customer service. He asked if there's a travel blogger with 600K followers in the group. How much do you charge? Customer service replied instantly. All members upgraded to VIP for free. Itineraries can be customized freely. Influencer promotion fees start at 200,000, and others get a daily subsidy of 500 yuan. It was like throwing a grenade into a cesspool. The group chat exploded. Randy, don't you think you've gone too far making money off your conscience like this? If the class monitor hadn't been extra cautious, would you have sold everyone out? We're all classmates. Let it go. Let it go. Maybe let Randy still be the team leader. But the 2,000 yuan we paid should be refunded first. I was so angry my head was buzzing. Didn't the whole class know how these low-priced tours work? They clearly want to have it both ways, taking advantage while being unwilling to pay. I didn't take a single cent in advertising fees, nor can I find a high-end tour group for 288. If you trust what the class monitor says, then let him handle the graduation trip. I have other plans, so I'll sit this one out. 288 yuan was just enough to buy 2 round-trip tickets for a green train. I wanted to see what tricks Wong Peng could pull off. With them, as soon as I finished speaking, I decisively left the group. I also refunded the group fees I had just collected one by one, thinking about all the effort and hard work I put in during this time, only to be blamed in return. I couldn't help but slump over the computer and burst into tears. Had just let out a couple of sobs when my roommate came back. 5. Seeing my eyes red from crying, the three of them took turns holding me in their arms to comfort me. Xiaodi, Wong Peng, and the others are just too heartless. I'm not refunding the money. Our dorm will go on the graduation trip by ourselves. After comforting me, they started standing up for me in the group chat again. Wong Peng had already pocketed the 288 with satisfaction. As he collected the money, he badmouthed me. Isn't Rindy just relying on her looks? Who knows how those trades were negotiated? She got defensive. when I exposed her true colors just now. Is that all the grace a little fairy has? Wang Peng is good at putting on a show, and has a lot of influence in the class. Except for a few roommates. The other classmates were actually trying to calm him down. The two sides argued endlessly, and in the end, they even exchanged harsh words. They said that once we set off, we'll see whose group is better. Mine or Wang Peng's. I was quite puzzled this time. Wang Peng was acting out of character, speaking with unusual sharpness and sarcasm. Why were the classmates still siding with him on the day of the defense? The mystery was solved. I was feeling upset and didn't want to talk to anyone except my roommate. When I ran into Wang Peng, I even shot him a few dirty looks. A few classmates came over to mediate, saying that even if Wang Peng had rejected me, I shouldn't be so aggressive. I immediately clarified, saying I had never liked him. In the end, they wore that same I already know expression. What a toad on the instep doesn't bite. But sure is annoying. A few days later, the time for departure arrived. I traveled with my 3 roommates, while Wang Peng led the other students, setting off on the same day. The travel agency arranged the pig-feeding flight of Sichuan Airlines. The flight attendants first served steaming hot dan dan noodles, then handed out baked potatoes and purple sweet potato buns, and thoughtfully provided a cup of osmanthus sour plum soup to aid digestion. Roommates ate and photographed at the same time, waiting to post them in the class group after landing. As for Wang Peng, he was indeed played by the tricks. 6. The promised round-trip flights were replaced by a tourist bus in the sweltering heat. The old-fashioned bus didn't even have the air conditioning on. The group was dizzy and drenched in sweat from the heat, frantically downing bottles of Washininki water. In contrast, things on our side went almost unbelievably smoothly. As soon as the plane landed, our local guide was already waiting at the arrival gate. With a sign, the guide was a local brother, with suntanned, glowing skin. When he smiled, a row of bright white teeth showed, and he had a cheerful personality. We got into a spacious 7-seat business van and arrived at the seaside guest house in no time. Everyone eagerly gathered in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows for a group photo, while Wang Peng's team was still slowly swaying inside the bus at noon. It was authentic by ethnic cuisine, but they could only slurp instant noodles at the service area. The contrast was too stark, and the classmates erupted again. I can tolerate the plane being downgraded to a hard seat, but how can we not even get a proper lunch? I've been glued to this seat for 10 hours, and both of my buttocks cheeks are numb. Class monitor, how exactly was the contract signed? It can't be that we can only eat instant noodles. Right, this is really rough. If I'd known, I would have gone. With Renda, Wang Peng quickly calmed everyone down, saying that the bus situation was just an accident. He patted his chest and gave a guarantee, promising that the upcoming itinerary would absolutely exceed expectations. After dinner, we took a leisurely stroll by the seaside. Group messages started flooding the screen, buzzing nonstop. Opening it, I saw that Wang Peng and the others had finally gotten off the car. Everyone was busy flattering Wang Peng. The squad leader is impressive. He really has some skills. This hotel costs $800 a night. We're totally getting a steal. Not only do we get $500 up front when we arrive, but we also get to stay in a big hotel. My grandma even praised me for being good at saving money, opening one selfie after another, each holding a portrait of Grandpa Mao. My eyes nearly popped out. Not only were they not tricked into staying at some cheap hostel, they actually checked into a magnificent 5-star hotel. They even outshone us in style. This is too abnormal. If it's not a shopping tour, then the problem is even more serious. 7. I quickly asked the dorm leader to clarify. Are they going to the Silver, Jade, and tea shops that rip off customers tomorrow? Wang Peng replied smugly. What's up? Did Ren Di send you to spout sour nonsense again? Sorry to disappoint you. Tomorrow, the day after, and the day after that. No shopping trips are scheduled any day. Sister Jiao heard we were software engineering majors, and even specially prepared gifts for us. After saying that, he pulled out another group photo. The female tour guide was stunningly beautiful, tall, and slender, leaning delicately on his shoulder like a little bird. Tell Ren Di that I, Wang Peng, will only ever love mature women in this life. So, She should give up hope as soon as possible. Truncation point. It seemed as if they had arranged it, with Wang Peng, one after another. The classmates showed off their gifts: a Razer keyboard and mouse set worth 899 yuan. Each of them was grinning from ear to ear, their faces brimming with the ecstasy of having snagged a great bargain. The dormitory leader kindly sent the anti-fraud promotional video to the group. They only said that now it's a society governed by the rule of law, and there's strength in numbers. No matter what kinds of devils or monsters come, there's nothing to fear. Seeing that they didn't take it seriously, the roommates unanimously muted the group messages. I also advised them, if they want to court disaster themselves, others can't stop them. Since it's rare to go out, we might as well just enjoy the trip. The next day, the four of us took a cable car, visited a temple, and enjoyed delicious vegetarian meals. My roommates all made wishes, hoping to receive their dream job offer soon. Our school is a non-985-211 university, and, with software as our major, the job market outlook was already unpromising, especially after Wang Peng announced in the group chat that he would be interning at a major company. Everyone became even more anxious. I don't want to do hardware testing anymore. I've decided to become a full-time blogger. For this trip, I specifically brought along my DSLR and a handheld fill light, taking advantage of the good weather. I took plenty of life-defining photos of them. After posting the beautiful photos on my moments, the first person to comment was actually Wang Peng. So, it's not a trip. You're just an escort for some old man. Do your parents know you're selling your body for dirty money? Selling yourself is bad enough, but dragging your classmates into it, too. Have you no shame? In this 9-square grid, the only male is the tour guide, Brother Liu. According to the rules, Brother Liu was supposed to eat separately from us, but in the evening, he took on a promotion for a wild mushroom soup restaurant, and Brother Liu enthusiastically introduced all kinds of fresh mushrooms. The portions given by the boss were generous, so we simply invited Brother Liu to join us for the meal. I took a screenshot of the comment and sent it to Wang Peng. A dirty mind sees dirt everywhere. I think you're addicted to selling your ass. If you dare to spew again, believe me, I'll report you directly to your internship company. After waiting for a long time, with no reply, I sent a knife emoji. A large red exclamation mark popped up in the chat window. That bastard actually blocked me. Thinking about his string of fabrications, I decided to confront him publicly. I threw out everything. Not just Brother Liu's blurred tour guide license photo, but also the evidence of him asking for a meal. Shortly after it was sent, I was unexpectedly pulled into a new group chat that didn't include Wang Peng. It turned out that the tour guide, Sister Jiao, had been taking them to free man-made scenic spots, and the group meals were cheap pre-made dishes. The pork ribs and meatballs had an eerie pinkish tint, and they tasted even worse than cafeteria food. As for the promised daily subsidy of 500 yuan, it was only paid once. Even stranger, Sister Jiao insists on taking attendance every hour, and forbids anyone from leaving the group for free activities. What should have been a nice group trip instead feels like a prison yard break. The classmates had enough, venting their frustrations, while asking if it was too late to switch groups by paying now. I put my newly learned sandwich refusal method into action. It's so tough for you guys. Getting a meal for 288 is quite a good deal. Can't arrange for extra people at the last minute. Just think of it as remembering the hard times to appreciate the sweet. Anyway, my phone watch is out of battery. With that, they immediately left the group chat. I don't want to meddle any further and end up getting myself into trouble. Little did I expect that a few selfies taken on a sea view balcony had already revealed my location. These people actually blocked the entrance of the guest house directly. 9. This time I really have no way out. Tour guide Brother Liu was also extremely embarrassed. Actually, the travel agency had been planning an itinerary for over 30 people. For many tour activities, the more people, the cheaper it gets. To ensure a smooth departure, I ended up paying several thousand yuan out of my own pocket, seeing that I remained cold and unyielding. They then surrounded the easygoing Brother Liu. Brother tour guide, we've bought all our luggage. Please take us in. That's right. That's right. We even pulled together the taxi fare on the spot. I'm contacting my parents to transfer money. I'll give you the same standard of 2,000 per person. Is that okay? A large crowd gathered at the entrance of the homestay, already affecting normal business operations. Brother Lou suggested that the hotel still needed to coordinate arrangements, so perhaps they should finish lunch first before discussing further. He had the company dispatch a brand new tourist bus. The car was clean and tidy, with the air conditioning running at full blast. Brother Lou handed out bottles of water and small snacks to everyone one by one, and the classmates all flattered him, saying he was handsome and good-hearted. I pulled Brother Lou to the back row and briefly expressed my concerns. What if these people become dissatisfied halfway through and just walk away? Who would be responsible for covering the costs? Brother Lou smiled, took out the contract he had prepared in advance, and began to register the identity information. The contract was legally binding, and I immediately felt relieved. Half an hour later, we arrived at the restaurant. The four of us had originally booked a trendy creative cuisine restaurant. Considering the number of people, Brother Lou changed course and headed to a Thai-style barbecue restaurant. The rectangular tables could barely squeeze in 8 people, and the group of us grandly occupied 5 tables. Oil-scalded pork skin, lemongrass grilled fish, grilled ribs, and pork belly. The waitress brought plate after plate of Thai-style snacks and various grilled meats to the table. The students looked like starving wolves that hadn't eaten for 10 days, their eyes gleaming with hunger, whether it was too much chili or something else. They were all eating, with tears and snot streaming, their chopsticks clashing in the bowls. Brother Lou was still calling the waiter to order more dishes. No idea which idiot gave out the address. Wang Peng and Sister Jiao came charging in. 10. Everyone stopped their chopsticks in unison. Sister Jiao crossed her arms, sizing up the group. With keen interest, she exchanged a glance with Wang Peng. Wang Peng immediately grabbed the kettle on the table and eagerly poured a cup, handing it over. Jiao Jiao took a sip of tea and spoke leisurely. Classmates, is the barbecue to your liking? If you're done eating, come back to the hotel with me. I've specially prepared a new activity for everyone this afternoon. The restaurant fell into a dead silence, with no one daring to speak up. Jiao Jia's face darkened, and just as she was about to lose her temper, Wang Peng stopped her again. Wang Peng cleared his throat and raised his voice. If any of you have issues with the itinerary, feel free to discuss it with me. You all ran off without a word, and I thought something had happened. I was so worried I almost called the police. I quietly pulled my roommates back to a corner and watched the scene unfold. Everyone, as if by unspoken agreement, turned their pleading eyes to Brother Lou. Brother Lou sighed and explained, "These college students have already renewed their contract with me, and now they are my clients. They voluntarily paid extra to switch groups. Why don't you head back for now?" Sister Jiao let out a cold snort. If I hadn't been told there was a minor internet celebrity in the group, I never would have taken this job in the first place. I've taken the 899 gift set, spent the 500 yuan red envelope, and now that you've freeloaded everything, you want to leave? Not a chance. A few male classmates argued, with stiff necks. We never signed a contract. We'll just return the money and stuff to you. Wang Peng's face flushed red as he cut them off sharply. I signed the contract on their behalf. Just the penalty fee alone is 30,000 yuan per person. All of you go back quietly. Once the trip ends in 3 days, you can go wherever you want. The group argued endlessly, while Brother Lou calmly took out his phone. If it doesn't work, let's call the police and let them handle it. 11. Upon hearing that the police would be called, Sister Jiao and Wang Peng both became anxious. Our hostel is giving back to graduates at a loss. There's no need to take this to the police station. Right. Yeah. We're all classmates here. How about we each give a little ground? Wang Peng hurriedly stopped Brother Lou, while Sister Jiao ran to the side and made a phone call. 5 minutes later, Sister Jiao's face changed as if by magic, and she put on a smile. Classmates, I apologize for my bad attitude just now. I am truly sorry. Our boss took this very seriously after finding out, and gave me a severe scolding. To show our sincerity, the company has decided to add an extra 3,000 yuan in travel funds for each student. I'll transfer 1,000 yuan to everyone now. As long as the trip goes smoothly, the remaining 2,000 will be credited immediately. Brother Lu was left dumbfounded. The fence-sitters huddled together, whispering and discussing for a long time. And in the end, most of them decided to go back. With Wang Peng, they cheerfully lined up one by one, showing Sister Jiao their payment codes. The remaining few, however, were determined to leave the group, no matter how Wang Peng and Sister Jiao tried to persuade them. They remained unmoved. Before leaving, Brother Lu took out the registration book. Everyone, let's settle the lunch money first. Only then did the group of people who were about to leave start reluctantly pulling out their money. That old beat-up came again. Everyone was about to board the bus. Sister Jiao suddenly blocked the door. A pair of enchanting eyes stared straight in my direction. Wait, where's that little internet celebrity? Wang Peng, why don't you invite her up here? Wang Peng reluctantly walked up to me, his face full of fawning smiles. Rendi, look how good our group's benefits are. Why don't you join us? He suddenly lowered his voice. Sister Jiao said that as long as you're willing to help with promotion, the travel agency is willing to throw in an extra 200,000. 12. I looked straight into Wang Peng's eyes. Wang Peng, how much did Sister Jiao actually pay you? Is it worth dragging the whole class into this? Have you really thought through the consequences of this deal? He shot me a vicious glare and said through gritted teeth, do you think you're the only smart one, and everyone else is a fool? Let me tell you, they all chose to come with me willingly. That caught me a bit off guard. I thought these people were just dazzled by the transactions. So, this is the masterstroke they were playing all along. I didn't want to deal with him anymore, so I turned around and walked away. Wang Peng rushed over in a panic and grabbed my arm. Just then, Brother Lu finished paying the bill and swatted away his dirty hand. He had no choice but to return to the bus frustrated. Seeing that I wasn't fooled, Jia slapped him hard across the face. It wasn't until the bus had driven far away that the classmates, who switched to our groups, finally let out a long sigh of relief. Scared me to death. Thank goodness we got out. Damn it. I was really afraid I'd end up dead halfway through the trip. I was full of question marks. Didn't Wang Peng say you have your own pace? A few people exchanged glances, and the air froze for a few seconds. A frail female classmate grabbed my wrist tightly. Her voice was trembling as she spoke. Randy, you have no idea what Wang Peng is planning. It turned out that before departure, Wang Peng had privately messaged each person saying that this was most likely a shopping tour. As long as you have a thick enough skin and a tough enough attitude, you can enjoy a full 7 days with the least amount of money to avoid being forced to spend money. Wang Peng even made them carry only 100 yuan in cash. But unexpectedly, there was no mandatory shopping, and the red packets arrived on time. Sister Jiao waved her hand generously, even gifting a 899 yuan souvenir. Now everyone was even more unsettled. 13 Jiao, and the driver watched everyone like ghosts, never leaving their side. The classmates discussed, with Wang Peng again, asking if he could just call the police and leave. Wang Peng, however, was unusually agitated, saying that since nothing had happened yet, calling the police would only result in a sky-high penalty for breach of contract. He suggested that since everyone had already made money, it would be better to hold off and see what Sister Jiao was up to. If they could catch solid evidence of the other party's illegal activities, they might even earn a collective merit. I pressed further. Since you've already agreed on a countermeasure, why choose to flee today? A few people instantly flushed, stammering as they said, Sister Jiao said tomorrow she's taking us to the border to watch that kind of show. Although Wang Peng repeatedly assured us that he had already notified the police, the more we thought about it, the more scared we became. I immediately understood. This was clearly a scheme to lure them into watching some sleazy little dance. Once the bus starts, and the small boat sets off, who knows where they'll be taken? On a university campus, the most intimidating figures are none other than the security guards confiscating prohibited electrical appliances. Students raised in a sheltered environment have never seen the tactics of criminals. They even naively believe they can make money off scammers. A complete fantasy. After explaining the Whole story clearly. They asked me to help call the police. It's not that I refused to help. I was genuinely terrified by this trip. What if Wang Peng blames me for the exorbitant penalty? Who would I turn to for justice? I shot a pleading look at the dorm leader. The dorm leader immediately caught on and smoothly mediated. Since you're here, you might as well have a good time. If anything really happens, isn't Wang Peng here to take the heat? The 5 of them were still hesitating. When they arrive at their destination, 14, before me lies a lush green rice field. A gentle breeze sweeps through, causing waves of rice to ripple like a beautiful scene from a Hayao Miyazaki animation. The days of anxiety completely vanished the moment I saw the little train. Taking photos, horseback riding, and drinking pour over coffee. In the blink of an eye, the matter of reporting to the police was completely forgotten. Exhausted from all the fun, lying down on the soft, big bed was simply blissful. Sound asleep, the door suddenly banged loudly. Bleary-eyed, I opened the door and was immediately surrounded by several panicked classmates. It's over. Wang Peng and the others have all lost contact. The petite female classmate's eyes were red, and she was so anxious she was about to cry. I had an agreement with my boyfriend. He always sends a safety signal before midnight every day. Her boyfriend shares a dorm room with Wang Peng. During the day, he saw his girlfriend insisting on leaving. After hesitating for a long time, he was still dragged onto the bus by Wang Peng. I quickly sent messages to a few roommates, telling them to come over immediately. At the same time, I pulled the classmates at the door into the dormitory. It was late at night, and making a racket in the hallway was too disturbing for the neighbors. When my roommates arrived, I signaled for them to calm the others down first. I asked the female classmate to open the class group chat. Sure enough, an hour ago, they were still enthusiastically sharing explosive videos. See, they clearly arrived at their destination safely. I pointed at the phone screen and analyzed. Maybe they took a country road on the way back, or switched to a remote hotel with no signal temporarily. The female classmate shook her head desperately, her voice trembling. With tears, my boyfriend's phone plan is a global roaming plan. He gets signal even in deep mountains and dense forests. They must be in trouble. We need to call the police immediately. Just as she was about to press the dial button, my phone rang first. The caller ID showed an unfamiliar number. When I answered, a familiar male voice came through the line. Rendi, it's Wang Peng. We're being sold to northern Myanmar. Help! 15. I raised my index finger, making a shushing gesture. Rendi, did you hear that? I'm sending you my location right now. Please come save us. I replied, with absolute calmness. Class monitor, you're not trying to trick me into going to your group again, are you? Give it up. I have no interest in you or your group. Wang Peng was stunned for a few seconds. What kind of time is this for you to be messing around with me? If you don't believe me, I'll send the evidence over. Several MMS messages were received on the phone all at once the moment the image was opened. Everyone gasped. More than 20 classmates were imprisoned in a dim, damp basement regardless of gender. They were all shaved bald and crammed into dog cages, 3 to 5 people at a time. Like livestock, they huddled silently in the corner of the cage, their hunched backs pressed against the cold bars, a dog bowl filled with spoiled rice at their feet. Not only were their eyes hollow and vacant, but on their exposed skin, streaks of whip marks were still oozing beads of blood. This was clearly a slow torture. No matter how tough the spirit, it could be worn down in a cage. I shouted into the phone. Squad leader, I'll call the police right now and get you out. Don't call the police. There are people watching nearby. As soon as they hear the sirens, we'll be moved immediately. Wang Peng lowered his voice and spoke rapidly. I've already stolen the keys. Find a way to get a bus and quietly come pick me up. Once we reach a safe place, we can call the police later. Without a second thought, I agreed, without hesitation. As expected of a class monitor, you always find a way to survive even in the direst situations. Got it. I'll go ask the tour guide for the car right away. 16. Seeing her boyfriend tied up like a dog, the female classmate completely broke down. The dorm leader widened his eyes. and abruptly grabbed my hand that was dialing. Randy, are you crazy? Are you seriously going to save someone? I sneered coldly and pressed the dial button firmly. No, I'm calling the police. Hello, I want to report a case. Over 20 college students have been sold to a scam compound. I'm not familiar with the compound situation, but I know Wang Peng all too well. If he could actually steal the keys, given his personality, he would definitely slip away on his own in the dead of night. He wouldn't risk alerting the guards, let alone be kind enough to save everyone. Half an hour later, the police arrived at the location provided by Wang Peng. The scene, aside from a few low-level thugs from the 3 compounds, was already deserted. I immediately contacted the counselor, who let out a screech like a rubber chicken over the phone. Early the next morning, the parents of the missing students began receiving extortion messages, one after another. The boy demanded 600,000 yuan, while the girl asked for 800,000, euphemistically calling it a mouse, and keyboardware, and tier fee. The students had already been removed from the iron cage. With one foot chained to an iron stool, they were forced to sit upright, facing flickering monitors, mechanically tapping on keyboards. The counselor, leading the anxious parents, took the earliest flight to the neighboring province. The local police station and embassy were soon packed, with people holding photos of their children. Meanwhile, Wang Peng's parents, having somehow obtained the address of the guest house, the two of them pounded on the door like mad. So, it's you, little, who tricked my son into coming here for a trip. Everyone else's ransom is 600,000, but my son's is 1-2 million. Isn't that deliberately trying to destroy our entire family? My son spent so much money on you, so you should be the one to pay the ransom. 17, with no other choice, I called the police. After being persuaded by the police to leave, Wang Peng's parents turned to attacking me online. They turned their transfers to their son into an expose video. Those so-called romantic expenses range from a few thousand to over 10,000. Soon, netizens, unaware of the truth, flooded my profile with vicious insults. Gold digger, pay back the money. Stop pretending to be an inspirational fairy. You're nothing but a high-class prostitute, travel blogger. Ha! How much did you take from that scumbag? Just wait to be executed. Those travel guides I spent countless sleepless nights and poor time and money into writing. Now it has all become solid evidence of squandering and enjoying luxury with Wang Peng's parents' hard-earned money. The newly released Seaside Homestay review has become the main battlefield for online bullying. Staying one night at this hotel probably cost several months of Wang Peng's parents' salary. Right. Looks like she thought her boyfriend wasn't giving her enough money, so she just sold her classmates off. Shouldn't this social cancer be shut down? Or should we keep it to corrupt more people? Wang Peng appears frugal and thrifty on the surface, but behind the scenes, he is extravagantly wasteful. My editing speed is way faster than his parents. I released 5 new videos in one go, laying out the ins and outs of his trip in full detail. At the end of each video, I tagged Wang Peng's parents. From start to finish, I've only had one meal alone. With Wang Peng, we split the bill, and he still owes me a cup of tea. You wouldn't want your son to be called a gold digger, would you? Please transfer that 24 yuan. The tide of public opinion instantly reversed. Wang Peng's parents quickly deleted their accounts and slunk away, dragging their luggage in a desperate attempt to flee. Enraged parents cornered them at the airport, their fists clenched so tightly they cracked. You son of a so, it was your little brat causing all the trouble. Hand over my daughter. If she loses even a single hair, I'll take your whole family down. With me, I'll kill you right now and avenge my child. No one knew who started it, but dozens of adults suddenly surged forward. The strong ones swung their fists, while the weaker ones bit with their teeth and kicked with their feet. Everyone went mad, swarming and beating the two of them. Wang Peng's parents were beaten until their faces were covered in blood, with not a single patch of unscathed skin left on their bodies. When they were barely clinging to life, news came that the students had been rescued. The two of them barely managed to keep their miserable lives. 18. The nature of the case was extremely heinous. Under pressure from all sides, the park had no choice but to hand over all the people. More than 20 classmates were immediately sent to the hospital for a full examination, and was subsequently taken away by the police to give statements. Considering the physical and psychological trauma caused by captivity, the relevant authorities specially arranged psychological therapy. 3 days later, they were finally reunited with their families, who had been waiting day and night. Everyone returned home safely, except for Wang Peng. It turned out that Wang Peng had long set his sights on me. He falsely claimed I was his girlfriend, and first got Sister Jiao to advance 200,000 in advertising fees. He even charged per person, selling each classmate for 2,000 yuan. The park was short on programmers, so the others only got a few lashes at most. When Sister Jiao realized she had been tricked, she flew into a rage and broke 3 of Wang Peng's limbs. Wang Peng, in order to save his own skin, played along with Sister Jiao's act of a bitter scheme to lure me over. But instead, his plan backfired, and he ended up losing several of his men. Sister Jiao blamed Wang Peng for this, which is why his ransom was twice that of the others. A month later, as soon as Wang Peng could hobble around on crutches, he was taken away in handcuffs by the police. According to a classmate, his family sold off their house and incurred a huge loss. They scraped together over 1 million yuan, paid the court fines, and then compensated each of the classmates who had been defrauded. In the end, Wang Peng was sentenced to 5 years in prison. As for the criminal group that Sister Jia was part of, they were all rounded up in a later cross-border joint law enforcement operation. The lightest accomplice starts with a minimum of 10 years. The big company offer Wang Peng mentioned was fake. Everything was just to maintain his image. Most of the class didn't find good jobs either. Otherwise, where would they find the time to travel? This case was turned into an anti-fraud educational video by the police and played on a loop across various campuses. As for me, I began a new journey after hearing the first story above. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comment section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. After my rebirth, I awakened the damage transfer system. Any harm inflicted upon me would be returned tenfold to a designated target. The moment the male lead pushed me down the stairs and broke my leg for the sake of his white moonlight, I immediately set the transfer target to her. Thus, in front of everyone, the male lead held me and cried his heart out, while his white moonlight, standing at the top of the stairs unscathed, but his legs twisted, and he screamed before passing out, leaning in the male lead's embrace. I spoke weakly. See, even the heavens can't stand to watch. The cold, hard edge of the step slammed into my back. Yet, the expected sharp pain never came. Damage transfer system successfully bound. Host detected to have sustained fall and impact injuries, expected to result in comminuted fractures of both legs and a grade 3 concussion. Please designate a target for injury transfer. The inflicted damage will be returned tenfold. The mechanical electronic voice echoed in my mind just as I was being jostled by the crowd, stumbling at the edge of the staircase. Meanwhile, the instigator, Shin Chai, had already rushed past me to the side of his beloved white moonlight, Lin Yue, steadily supporting the painting that, to him, was more important than my life. Lin Yue patted her chest, still shaken, and gave him a grateful, dependent smile. They were the center of attention, a match made in heaven, and I was the one casually pushed aside, just their backdrop, too familiar. In my past life, I had tumbled down the stairs just like this, and spent half a year in the hospital. Shin Che only came to see me once, tossing down a card along with an icy statement. I'll take full responsibility for the medical expenses, but don't ever show up in front of Yue again. He thought I was jealous of Lin Yue, deliberately blocking her way, trying to ruin her painting. Lying in the hospital bed, I watched as the news of his engagement to Lin Yue spread across the internet, my heart aching as if cut by a knife, until I eventually died of sorrow. Given a second chance at life, I won't be that foolish again. 1 second before my body completely lost control, I mustered all my strength and silently recited in my heart, Lin Yue, transfer target set. Lin Yue, damage transferring. I closed my eyes, waiting for a completely different ending. The weightless sensation of my body falling came, only to be caught by a warm and forceful embrace. It was Shunche. He had probably calmed Lin Yue down before finally remembering me. His girlfriend, whom he had personally pushed down the stairs. Jiangwan, he held me, his voice filled with an unprecedented panic and trembling. Before I could even open my eyes, a shrill, inhuman scream echoed from the top of the stairs. We both looked up at the same time. Lin Yue, who had just been smiling sweetly moments ago, now lay sprawled on the ground in a bizarre posture, her legs twisted unnaturally like two strands of dough that had been brutally snapped in half. Her eyes rolled back. She let out a piercing scream, and then fell completely unconscious. The entire hall fell into a deathly silence, everyone stunned by the eerie scene before them. Shinche was frozen in place, holding me tightly, yet his gaze remained fixed on Lin Yue upstairs, his mind completely blank. I leaned against his chest, feeling the violent rise and fall of his chest from fear, and weakly managed a pale smile. I raised my hand and gently touched his face, which was filled with shock. Shenke, look, even the heavens can't stand it anymore. The wail of the ambulance echoed throughout the art center. Lin Yue and I were rushed to the hospital together. The emergency room, in complete chaos. The doctors gathered around Lin Yue's x-rays, their expressions grave. It's bizarre. There's no sign of any external impact. So how could both legs suffer comminuted fractures simultaneously? The bones are shattered like tofu dregs. She'll never walk again. What's even stranger is that, despite being in so much pain, she went into shock. Aside from her legs, there isn't a single bruise on her body. In contrast, my situation was much more relaxed. The doctor examining me repeatedly flipped through my x-rays, then pinched my arms and legs, utterly baffled. Mississippi, are you sure you fell down dozens of steps? Aside from a minor scrape on your elbow, you don't have a single injury. I leaned against the hospital bed, my face pale, looking as if I had suffered a tremendous fright. Shin chased a guard by my bedside, his complexion even paler than mine. He held my hand, his palm cold and damp, his eyes filled with confusion and self-blame. Wan, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. His phone vibrated frantically in his pocket. No doubt it was someone from Lin Yue's side calling. He picked it up several times, then put it down again, ultimately choosing to stay by my side. Are you feeling unwell anywhere? Let the doctor give you a thorough checkup. I shook my head, my eyes welling up at just the right moment. I'm fine, just a little scared. How is Yue doing? At the mention of Lin Yue, Shinche's eyes instantly dimmed, and he closed them in pain. The doctor said, her leg is beyond recovery. After speaking, he pressed his lips tightly together, his handsome face filled with anguish. He couldn't understand it. He clearly pushed me. So why was it Lin Yue who ended up shattered to pieces? I want him to be unable to make sense of it. I want this thorn to remain forever in his heart, so that every breath he takes is accompanied by guilt and confusion. Shinke, I spoke softly, my voice trembling just the right amount. Did I scare you? He snapped back to reality, looked at me, and shook his head vigorously. No, don't overthink it. Just rest well. As soon as the words fell, the door of the hospital room was kicked open. Lin Yue's mother, the elegant and dignified Mrs. Lin, now rushed in like a madwoman, her makeup smeared from crying, and her hair disheveled. Without a word, she rushed to my bedside and raised her hand to slap me. Shinche swiftly intercepted her. Auntie, please calm down. Calm down. My daughter's leg is broken. How can I possibly calm down? Mrs. Lin's eyes were bloodshot as she pointed at my nose and began shouting, It's all your fault. You jinx. You must have been jealous of our Yue and pushed her on purpose. Otherwise, how could she have broken her leg for no reason at all? Her ability to twist the truth was exactly the same as in my past life. Shinchin furrowed his brow tightly, shielding me behind him. Auntie, you've got it wrong. It was my fault. I was the one who pushed Jiangwan. Did you push her? Mrs. Lin looked at me as if she had just heard the biggest joke in the world. Her eyes swept over me from head to toe, the contempt and hatred in her gaze almost tangible. Shinke, don't lie just to protect this woman. If she was pushed, how is she sitting here perfectly fine? What about my daughter? You saw, with your own eyes, how my daughter's leg was broken. Her hysterical cries drew the attention of everyone in the hallway. I hid behind Shin-chae, lowering my eyes, looking as if I were on the verge of tears. But in my heart, I sneered coldly. Good. Let the chaos unfold. The bigger, the better. Shin-chae was left speechless by her questioning, and could only repeat, Auntie, things aren't what you think. I'll take responsibility. Take responsibility? How will you take responsibility? Can you give me back a healthy daughter? Mrs. Lin refused to relent, reaching out to grab my hair in the chaos. Her nails scraped across the back of my hand, leaving behind fine trails of blood. Host detected to have sustained scratching damage, initiating tenfold retaliation. I almost immediately locked onto the target for the transfer in my mind. Not Mrs. Lin, nor Shin-chae, but Lin Yue in the next room, who had just undergone surgery and was under heavy anesthesia. The next second, a nurse's scream and the blaring of medical equipment suddenly erupted from the next room. Immediately following that was Lin Yue's heart-wrenching scream. That sound was even more miserable and desperate than at the art exhibition, as if she were enduring some form of torture. Mrs. Lin's movements came to an abrupt halt. Her face turned deathly pale, and, without another thought for me, she scrambled out in a frantic rush. Yue! My Yue! The entire floor was thrown into chaos by this sudden turn of events. Doctors and nurses hurried into Lin Yue's hospital room, and the world finally fell quiet. I raised my hand, looking at the scratch on the back of it, which was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Shenke stood in place, motionless. He stared at me intently, his eyes no longer filled with just confusion and self-blame, but with a hint of fear. He saw it. He must have seen the moment Mrs. Lin scratched me. He also heard Lin Yue's subsequent scream. Once could be a coincidence, but twice I met his gaze, my eyes pure and innocent. Shenke, I asked softly, am I a very troublesome person? His Adam's apple bobbed, his lips trembling for a long while, yet not a single word came out. Lin Yue's condition was very serious. It said that as soon as the anesthesia wore off, she suddenly began experiencing excruciating pain all over her body, causing her to go into shock several times. Even with the maximum dose of the pain pump, the doctors were helpless. In the end, they had no choice but to administer a sedative again, forcing her into a deep sleep. The Lin family was thrown into complete chaos as the culprit. Shenke was naturally subjected to a torrent of scolding from Lin's parents, who pointed their fingers at him and berated him mercilessly. He did not refute, only silently endured everything. After dealing with the Lin family's affairs, he finally dragged his exhausted body back to my hospital room. He sat in the chair by the bed, not saying a word, just looking at me with an extremely complicated gaze. I felt a bit uncomfortable under his stare, and took the initiative to speak. Yu, is she all right? He shook his head, his voice hoarse. The doctors couldn't find the cause either. He paused, raised his eyes, and stared at me with an intense gaze. Jiangwan, tell me honestly, did anything happen to you at the art exhibition? My heart skipped a beat, but I kept my expression calm, only letting my eyes redden. With a hint of grievance, I was pushed down by you. Do you think I'm okay? But the doctor said you only had minor scrapes. His voice suddenly rose, carrying a hint of impatience and suspicion that even he himself hadn't noticed. But Yu, Shin-chae, I interrupted him, my voice trembling with tears. Are you doubting me? Suspecting that I used some underhanded method to harm Lin Yu? I didn't. He immediately denied, but his eyes were evasive. You did. I threw off the covers, got out of bed barefoot, stood in front of him, looked up at him, and said, you pushed me down the stairs, nearly killing me. Now, instead of caring about me, every word you say is about Lin Yu, even suspecting that I harmed her. What am I to you? And your heart? Just a tool you can casually push aside for Lin Yue. My questions were like knives stabbing straight into his heart, his handsome face drained of color, his lips trembling as he tried to explain, but found no words to say, because everything I had spoken was the truth. I'm sorry. In the end, All he could manage were those 3 words, his voice filled with a sense of helplessness. I let out a cold laugh and turned to leave. Where are you going? He grabbed my wrist. None of your business. I struggled with all my might. I don't want to see you. Go find your Linue. Just then, the hospital room door was pushed open. Shinch's friends walked in, led by Lu Yen. They were carrying fruit baskets and nutritional supplements. Seeing Shinche and me in a tussle, they all froze for a moment. Lu Yen is Shinch's best friend, and also the one who looks down on me the most. He glanced at me and spoke in a flippant tone. Oh, what's this act now? Shinche, your wife really knows how to make a scene. Even with Yue in that state, she still has the mood to throw a tantrum. With you here. His words, both explicit and implicit, were all accusations of me being unreasonable, an amateur. Trembling with anger, I violently shook off Shinch's hand. Lu Yen, shut up. You're not welcome here. Lu Yen scoffed, slamming the fruit basket onto the table. With a loud thud. What? Did I hit a nerve? Jiangwan, don't think we don't know what you're up to. You're just jealous of Yue, aren't you? Using such low tactics to gain sympathy. Is that really worth it? He stepped closer, looking down at me with a contemptuous glare. I'm telling you, Shinche only has Yue in his heart. Even if you die here, you won't earn a single glance from him. He was standing too close, his warm breath hitting my face as he spoke. I instinctively took a step back, but my foot caught on the one he deliberately stuck out. I fell backward, about to crash into the corner of the table behind me. Detecting that the host is about to suffer impact damage, a cold glint flashed in my eyes. Transfer target. Lu Yen. I did not bump into the corner of the table. Shinche pulled me back in time, dragging me into his embrace. Standing in place, Lu Yen felt as if he had been struck head-on by a high-speed truck. Without any warning, his entire body was flung backward, crashing violently into the opposite wall. With a heavy, dull thud, plaster crumbled and fell from the wall. Lu Yen slid to the ground like a pile of mud, blood gushing from his nose and mouth, and he lost consciousness on the spot. The few friends following behind him were all completely stunned. They stared blankly at Lu Yen on the ground, then at me, safe and sound in Shinche's arms, their faces filled with terror and disbelief. Unthinkable. Yen. Yen-ge. Hurry. Call the doctor. The hospital room descended into chaos once again. Shinche held me in his arms, his body trembling slightly. He lowered his head, and the look in his eyes as he gazed at me could no longer be described as mere fear. It was a kind of extreme terror, as if seeing demons and monsters. He personally witnessed Lu Yen sticking his foot out to trip me. He also personally saw Lu Yen fly out himself the moment I was about to fall. All of this was too bizarre, so bizarre that it exceeded the scope of his understanding. Nestled in his arms, I felt his heartbeat growing faster and faster, a cold, undetectable smile curling at the corner of my lips. I wanted exactly like this. I want everyone who has hurt me to taste this inexplicable fear. The doctor arrived quickly and placed Lu Yen on a stretcher. The preliminary diagnosis was 3 broken ribs and severe internal bleeding. Shinche's friends followed the ambulance into the distance, and the look they gave me before leaving was as if they had seen a ghost. Only Shinke and I remained in the hospital room. After a long while, he slowly released me, took 2 steps back, and widened the distance between us. His voice was as dry as sandpaper grinding against itself. Jiangwan, just what kind of person are you? I lifted my head, meeting his gaze full of fear, and revealed a pure, innocent smile. Shinchai, what are you talking about? I don't understand. It was you, wasn't it? He stared at me intently, as if trying to see right through me. Yue and Luyan, it was all you. What did I do? I tilted my head, my eyes filled with confusion. I was just pushed down the stairs and tripped. Could it be that being hurt is also a mistake? My words left him with no rebuttal. Yes, from beginning to end, I was the victim. But why is it that those who truly pay the heavy price are the perpetrators? Shinchai's understanding was crumbling. He looked at me, his eyes filled with struggle and pain. He didn't want to believe I was a monster. Yet everything happening before his eyes forced him to accept it. Jiangwan, he murmured. Please, tell me what is going on. Seeing his agony, I felt not a shred of pity, only the thrill of revenge. I chuckled softly. Shinchai, perhaps you should go to the temple and pray, because I might be someone favored by the gods. Lian's severe injuries caused the situation to completely escalate. Shinchai's friends were spreading rumors all over the hospital, calling me a jinx and a monster. They said anyone who got close to me would be struck by terrible misfortune. First Lin Yue, then Lian, with two vivid examples right before their eyes. It was hard for anyone not to believe it for a moment. Rumors spread like wildfire. Even the nurses at the hospital started looking at me strangely, keeping a distance of 3 m. When changing my bandages, Shinchai was under immense pressure. On one side were Lin Yue and Lian, both unconscious, and the pressure from their two families behind them. On one side, there was me, this eerie and sinister girlfriend. He visibly deteriorated at a rapid pace, with heavy dark circles under his eyes and a stubble of unkempt beard sprouting on his chin. He stopped coming to my hospital room and was glad for the peace and quiet. On the day I was discharged, I handled all the paperwork myself. Shinchai didn't come himself. He just had his assistant bring me a card and a set of keys to a high-end apartment in the city center. The assistant said to me respectfully, Miss Jiang, Mr. Shin mentioned that he's been a bit busy lately. He asked you to move into the apartment first and to contact him anytime if you need anything. I took the keys, without even glancing at the card. He's not busy. He's just afraid of me. The assistant's expression turned awkward, lowering their head and not daring to respond. I smiled and turned to leave. From beginning to end, I didn't show the slightest hint of reluctance. This only made Shinchai, who was secretly observing, even more uneasy. I know he's there, right in the cafe across from the hospital, separated by just a street, watching me through binoculars. He's testing me, and he's observing me, wanting to see if, without him, I would cry and beg him not to leave, just like before. Unfortunately, he's going to be disappointed. I pulled my suitcase and hailed a taxi, without looking back, heading straight to the apartment he gave me. The apartment was on the top floor, with 360 degrees panoramic floor-to-ceiling windows, luxurious decor, and an unbeatable location. In my past life, I could only dream of having a home like this, with him. But now, standing in this empty, cold house, my heart is completely still. After putting down my luggage, the first thing I did was order the most expensive afternoon tea for myself, then took a comfortable hot bath. I didn't take the initiative to contact Shinchai, not a single call or message. The more indifferent I acted, the more he suffered. Sure enough, he came that very night. He stood at the door, reeking of alcohol, with bloodshot eyes, seeing me in a bathrobe, leisurely watching a movie in the living room. The dissatisfaction in his eyes nearly overflowed. Jiangwan, you're living quite comfortably, he said hoarsely, his voice thick with sarcasm. I eyed the movie and turned to look at him. Otherwise, do you expect me to lose my appetite and cry begging you to come back? He was left speechless by my retort, his chest heaving violently. He stepped inside, slamming the door shut behind him, and backed me into a corner. The strong scent of alcohol, mingled with the pleasant woody fragrance he carried, enveloped me completely. What do you want from me? He pinched my chin, his grip so strong it felt like he was about to crush my bones. Does tormenting me give you pleasure? Pain shot through me. Detected host has sustained pinch damage. I looked at his handsome face, so close to mine, and suddenly smiled. Yes, I activated the system. Tenfold return in progress. This time, I didn't choose anyone. I chose himself. Shinchai's expression instantly froze on his face. The hand that was pinching my chin suddenly stiffened. Then, as if struck by an electric shock, let out a pain groan. He released me, clutching his own jaw, staggering back a few steps, his face filled with disbelief. That excruciating pain of having his bone crushed alive sobered him up considerably in an instant. He stared at me in horror. as if looking at a complete monster. I rubbed my chin, which he had pinched red, and smiled even more brightly. Now, do you believe me? His entire body trembled, not from pain, but from a terror so immense it could overturn the materialist worldview he had held for over 20 years. He finally understood that those bizarre accidents were no mere coincidences. They were all my doing. I had transferred the harm away through a method he could not comprehend. What are you? His voice quivered as he retreated step by step, until his back pressed against the cold door panel. With nowhere left to go, I am Jiangwan, I said as I walked toward him, each step feeling as if it were treading on his heart. The Jiangwan, who loved you for 10 years, the one you cast aside like worn-out shoes. I reached out and gently touched his still throbbing jaw. He trembled all over in fright, but dared not pull away. Shin-che, does it hurt? I asked softly. Is this feeling unfamiliar to you? His face was deathly pale, beads of cold sweat covering his forehead, unable to utter a single word. This is just the beginning. I leaned close to his ear, speaking in a voice only the two of you could hear. Word by word. What you owe me, what Lin Yue owes me, I will take back bit by bit, with interest. Shin's psychological defenses completely collapsed. He pushed me away, stumbling out of the apartment, his retreating figure as wretched as a stray dog. I watched him flee in panic, laughing until tears streamed down my face. Shin-che, I never thought you'd have a day when you'd be afraid. For the next few days, Shin-che didn't show up again. I guess he probably went into hiding, needing time to process everything. As for me, I began preparing for my next plan, merely making Shin-che fearful. And Lin Yue disabled was far from enough. What I wanted was for them to be utterly disgraced and left with nothing. I utilized the connections and information I had accumulated in my previous life, secretly gathering incriminating evidence on the Shin Group and the Lin family's enterprises. In my previous life, Shin-che embezzled public funds to inject capital into Lin Yue's family business, draining the Shin family's resources, and ultimately leading to the bankruptcy of the Shin family. In this life, I won't give him that chance again. I will send him to hell before he even makes a move. Just as I was busy and thoroughly enjoying myself, an unexpected person came looking for me. It's Lin Yue's brother, Lin Shurong. He arranged to meet me at a secluded tea house. When I arrived, he was already there. He was dressed in a well-tailored suit, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, looking refined and scholarly, completely different from his overbearing and domineering mother, Miss Jiang. He stood up and pulled out the chair for me, his demeanor gentlemanly. I sat down and got straight to the point. Mr. Lin, you asked to see me about your sister's matter. He nodded, his expression grave. I've heard about what happened between my sister and Lin Yuyen. It's very strange. He pushed up his glasses, his gaze behind the lenses sharp as a blade. I've looked into you, Miss Jiang. Your family background is ordinary. Your record is clean, with nothing out of the ordinary. But ever since the day of the art exhibition, everyone who has clashed with you has met with misfortune. I picked up my teacup, blew on the steam, and said nothing. I'm not here to accuse you. He seemed to sense my weariness and softened his tone. I'm here to make a deal with you. Trade. I raised an eyebrow. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. I know you're not an ordinary person. I don't care what methods you used. I just want you to help me with one thing. In exchange, he paused, dangling a huge bait. I can help you deal with Shin-che together. I looked at Lin Sharan, somewhat surprised. He's Lin Yue's own brother, not helping his sister get revenge, but instead wanting to team up with me to deal with Shin-che. Why? I asked. No reason why. Lin Sharan's gaze was icy. Shin-che's engagement to my sister was nothing more than a business alliance. But now Yue is ruined, and the marriage alliance between the Lin and Shin families has lost its meaning. What's more, he sneered coldly. Shin-che nearly destroyed our Lin family for Yue. I've been keeping that account in mind. I understand. In the previous life, Shin-che had searched far and wide for renowned doctors to treat Lin Yue's leg, sparing no expense, even embezzling funds, nearly dragging down both the Shun and Lin family companies. Lin Xiaoran was a shrewd businessman, one who prioritized profit above all else. In his eyes, his sister's happiness was far less important than the family's interests. Now that Lin Yue has become she is nothing but a bottomless burden to the Lin family. And Xin Che is the one who caused all of this. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. What do you want me to do for you? I asked. It's very simple. A flicker of ruthlessness passed through Lin Xiaoran's eyes. I want Xin Chai to lose everything. His goal aligns perfectly with mine. What's in it for me? Besides helping you take down Xin Chai, I can also tell you a secret, Lin Xiaoran said unhurriedly. One. About why you were reborn. My hand holding the teacup suddenly froze. Reincarnation is my greatest secret. How could he possibly know? As if seeing through my thoughts, Lin Xiaoran smiled faintly. Miss Jiang, this world is more complicated than you imagine. Do you think you are one of a kind? His words carried immense weight, and as I looked at him, a storm of emotions surged within me. Could it be that he too was deal? I agreed almost without hesitation. The collaboration with Lin Xiaoran proceeded smoothly. He used the Lin family's influence to help me gather more confidential documents from within the Xin group, including tax evasion, regulatory violations, and Xin Che's plan to embezzle public funds to establish an exorbitant rehabilitation fund for Lin Yu. The evidence was conclusive. I anonymously reported these materials to the relevant authorities. In an instant, the Xin group's stock price plummeted, mired in investigation scandals, and teetering on the brink of collapse. Xin Chai was overwhelmed, running around in all directions, but to no avail. He probably never dreamed that besides me, the one stabbing him in the back would also be his future brother-in-law. Just as the Xin group was teetering on the brink, I received a call from Xin Chai. His voice was utterly exhausted, tinged with a hint of pleading. Jiangwan, let's meet. I agreed. The meeting place was still that apartment. After a few days apart, he looked as if he had aged 10 years. He sat slumped on the sofa, the once high-spirited and favored son of heaven, now reduced to nothing but bloodshot eyes and utter despair. It was you, wasn't it? He looked at me, his tone surprisingly calm, as if stating a fact. I didn't deny it. Why? He asked in anguish. What did I ever do to you to deserve being destroyed like this? I smiled. What did you do to me? I walked up to him, looking down from above. Shen Ke, do you remember 3 years ago, when I got into that car accident? He was stunned. 3 years ago, I was hit by a truck that ran a red light, while rushing to deliver an urgent document to him. I lay unconscious in the hospital for 3 days, and 3 nights. When I woke up, the first person I saw wasn't him. It was Lin Yue, who was keeping watch by the next bed. She just sprained her ankle. Yet Shun Che stayed by her side, without leaving, peeling apples for her, and telling jokes meanwhile. I lay alone in the hospital bed, nearly dying. He didn't even know I had been in a car accident. Later, when he found out, he only sent his assistant, with a sum of money, not even bothering to show up. From that moment on, I knew that this man had never had me in his heart. I calmly told him about this past incident. For the first time, Xin Che's face showed confusion and guilt. I didn't know, he murmured. Yue said at the time that you just had a minor cold. Can a single word from her just erase the fact that I almost died? I looked at him coldly. Shenke, you're not stupid. You just don't care. Because you don't care, my life or death means nothing to you. Because you don't care, you could push me down the stairs, without hesitation, just to steady her easel. Each of my words struck like a heavy hammer, pounding relentlessly into his heart. He collapsed weakly onto the sofa, his face as pale as paper. I'm sorry. Those 3 words again. It's too late for apologies now. I withdrew my gaze. The Shen group is finished. You'll soon be behind bars for embezzlement and commercial fraud, and Lin Yue will spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. This is what you owe me. I finished speaking, turned around, and walked away. He didn't stop me. As I reached the door, his voice, filled with despair and hoarseness, came from behind me. Jiangwan, even if I deserve to die 1,000 deaths, Yue is innocent. Please, let her go. Okay. Even at a time like this, the one he's still thinking about is his white moonlight. You can ponder that question slowly once you're in prison. I pulled open the door, and sunlight poured in. Outside the door stood Lin Shuiran. He gave me a slight smile and handed me a document. Congratulations. You've avenged your great wrong. I took the document. It was the secret of rebirth he had promised to tell me. I opened the file, and, with just one glance, my pupils instantly contracted. On the document was an experimental report. The name of the test subject was unmistakably Lin Yue. The content of the report made my heart race. With fear. This is an illegal experiment conducted by a secret biotech company, with a project named Fate Grafting. In simple terms, it involves using a special brainwave resonance technology to transfer one person's misfortune, illness, and injuries to another person. The selected receptor would bear all the misfortune on behalf of the subject. Lin Yue was that subject, and I am her receptor. The report meticulously documented every accident, every illness, and every stroke of bad luck that had happened to me over the past 10 years. From tripping on flat ground to being severely injured in a car accident, it turns out none of them were accidents. Instead, Lin Yue used the fate grafting system to transfer all the misfortunes she should have endured onto me. And Shun Che was the medium that activated the system. Whenever he felt a strong desire to protect and love Lin Yue, the system would automatically activate, transferring the potential dangers around her to the person closest to him, but whom he cared about the least. And that person was me. I finally understand why, after loving Shun Che for 10 years, I have always felt like an insignificant shadow. It's not because I'm not good enough, but because in the system's design, I must be someone he overlooks and looks down upon. Only in this way, when danger comes, can he sacrifice me without hesitation to protect Lin Yuyao. Holding the report, my hands and feet turned ice cold. My tragic life in my previous existence was, from beginning to end, a meticulously orchestrated conspiracy. And the reason for my rebirth was written on the last page of the report. Subject Jiang Yuan, due to long-term exposure to overloaded misfortune transference, experienced a collapse of spiritual energy, leading to a bug in the fate grafting system, resulting in the phenomenon of consciousness regression, i.e. rebirth. And the damaged transfer system I awakened to is actually a byproduct of that bug. It no longer made me bear the hurt unilaterally. Instead, it gave me the right to fight back. This company is funded by the Lin family. Lin Xian's voice rang in my ear, cold and devoid of any emotion. This experiment was a gift my father specially prepared for his precious daughter, so she could live a smooth and peaceful life forever. So, my sister is no innocent, pure-hearted saint. She knew about your existence from the very beginning. She has been contentedly enjoying everything you endured for her, watching you suffer, watching you fall into misfortune, and even watching you die. Lin Xian adjusted his glasses, a flicker of satisfaction flashing in his eyes. Now that she's become her, it's her own fault. I clenched the report in my hand, my knuckles turning white. A surge of overwhelming hatred welled up from the depths of my heart. So, that's how it is. What I had believed to be deep affection was nothing but a complete and utter deception. My life, from the very beginning, has been nothing but a stepping stone and a trash can for Lin Yuyao. What about Shun Che? Does he know? I asked, my voice hoarse. He doesn't know, Lin Xian said. He's just a pitiful pawn, like you. But that doesn't excuse the way he hurt you. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. When I opened them again, only a cold, lifeless stillness remained in my eyes. Lin Shurong, our deal isn't over yet. Oh. He looked at me with keen interest. I want the Lin family to vanish completely from this world. Lin Shurong looked at me, fell silent for a moment, and then laughed. Jiangwan, you're even more ruthless than I imagined. Takes one to know one, I retorted coldly, to seize control of the Lin family. He didn't hesitate to betray his own father and sister. How is he any better than me? All right, he agreed, without hesitation. I can help you, but I have one condition. Speak. Once this is done, I want you to lift the curse on Yue, he said, looking at me with sincere eyes. Though she deserves it, she is still my sister after all. Losing the use of her legs is already the harshest punishment she could receive. I looked at him and suddenly found it somewhat amusing. Do you think this ability of mine is something I can just turn on and off at will? However, that doesn't stop me from taking advantage of this aspect of him. All right, I nodded. With my promise secured, Lin Shurong acted with astonishing speed. He used the internal information of the Lin family that he had in his possession, combined with the fate grafting experimental report in my hands, to deliver a fatal blow to the Lin family. Illegal human experimentation. This was a grave crime severe enough to plunge the entire Lin family into eternal ruin. Lin's father was arrested and imprisoned. The Lin group was seized, and all its assets were frozen. The once glorious and illustrious Lin family collapsed overnight, crumbling in an instant. Kim Ke, on the other hand, was sentenced to 20 years in prison for multiple charges. I saw him for the last time in court. He was wearing prison garb, his hair shaved into a crew cut, his entire body so emaciated that he was almost unrecognizable, with not a trace of his former noble bearing left. His gaze passed through the crowd and landed on me. In those eyes, there was no longer hatred, nor love, only a lifeless emptiness. He had probably already learned the whole truth from Lin Shurong, realizing that my 10 years of deep affection were merely sewing a wedding dress for someone else, realizing that I personally placed my dearest love upon a pedestal and pushed an innocent person into hell. This punishment is more unbearable than death. I no longer have any feelings for him. After the dust settled, I went to the nursing home, where Lin Yue was staying. With the Lin family's downfall, this wealthy heiress naturally could no longer afford the expensive private hospital. This nursing home was very remote, and the environment was quite poor. When I found her, she was sitting in a wheelchair, lost in thought in a small garden. She had lost a lot of weight, her complexion sallow, her eyes dull. The once untouchable white moonlight now looked more wretched than a beggar on the street. Seeing me, a ripple of emotion finally stirred in her murky eyes. It was hatred. "It's you." She gritted her teeth, her voice squeezed from her throat. "Jiangwan, you devil. I'm just returning everything you did to me back to you." I looked at her calmly. How does it feel being treated like trash? Bearing misfortune for others? Does it feel good? "You're lying," she exclaimed, waving her arms frantically. "I don't know anything about fate grafting. I know nothing." "Is that so?" I took out my phone and played a recording. It was given to me by Lin Shurong, a conversation between her and her father. On the recording, she used a sickeningly sweet voice to coquettishly plead with her father. "Dad, that Jiangwan seems to be doing quite well lately. Is there something wrong with the system? You need to make Shinche love me more, so all my bad luck can be transferred to her." After the recording finished playing, Lin Yue's face instantly drained of all color. She slumped in her wheelchair, trembling like a leaf. I put away my phone and looked down at her from above. "Now, do you have anything else to say?" Lin Yue completely broke down. She cried uncontrollably in front of me, with tears and mucus streaming down her face, completely losing all sense of decorum. I was wrong. Jiangwan, I was truly wrong. She clutched at my pant leg, pleading desperately. "Please let me go. I beg you. I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life." I kicked her hand away in disgust. "Let you go? For 10 years, you used me as a vessel for your misfortune. Car accidents, serious illnesses, betrayal by everyone close to me. When I was on the brink of death, why didn't you ever think of letting me go? Now you come begging for mercy. It's too late." I looked at her desperate face, but felt no sense of vengeful satisfaction in my heart, only an overwhelming absurdity and weariness. I turned and walked away, not sparing her another glance. Behind me, her cries and curses grew increasingly shrill and bitter. Having dealt with all my enemies, I still did not feel any relief. I sold the apartment Shinche gave me, and also refused the huge sum of money Lin Shiren offered me. I just wanted to leave the city and start a new life. Before I left, Lin Shiren found me. He fulfilled our agreement, handing over to me the remaining usable assets and connections of the Lin family. "What are your plans for the future?" he asked me. "To go somewhere where no one knows me," I said. He fell silent for a moment, then said, "Yue has gone mad." I paused, but did not turn around. She was sent to a mental hospital, constantly saying that ghosts are trying to harm her, that someone wants to steal her luck. She got what she deserved. "I know," Lin Shiren sighed. "Jiangwan, that ability of yours, is it still there?" I shook my head. "It's very strange. Ever since Lin Yue was declared mentally unstable, that damaged transfer system in my mind has never made a sound again. It seems to have vanished. Perhaps, when all hatred is settled, it will have fulfilled its mission. That's fine, too." Lin Shiren nodded. "From now on, just live as an ordinary person. And live well." I didn't say anything, pulling my suitcase as I walked into the airport security checkpoint. The plane took off, and as I watched the city beneath me grow smaller and smaller, a mix of emotions welled up in my heart. Everything in the past feels like a bizarre, surreal nightmare now. The dream is over. I lean against the porthole, gazing at the pure blue sky and white clouds outside, and slowly close my eyes. Jiangwan's life has come to an end, and my life has only just begun. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comment section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My sister-in-law heard that eating salt can increase strength. When my nephew was just 7 months old, she started feeding him salt every day. I took my nephew to the hospital and paid out of my own pocket for his kidney dialysis, which saved his life. Later, my nephew grew up safely, but due to long-term irregular sleep patterns from staying up late playing games, combined with the after effects of excessive salt consumption in childhood, he developed uremia at a young age. Instead, my sister-in-law blamed me. She said, "If you hadn't taken the initiative to take Kevin for dialysis, his kidneys wouldn't have been damaged. It's all your fault that Kevin ended up like this." To save my nephew, she conspired with my brother and my mother to trick me into going abroad, where they transplanted both of my kidneys to my nephew. I died, with resentment in a foreign land. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn on the day my sister-in-law was feeding salt to my nephew. "Why is there no salt in this porridge at all? Megan, go get the spice box for me." When my sister-in-law Lola's voice rang in my ears again, I realized I had been reborn. In her previous life, she had said the same thing. After I brought over the spice box, she added a large spoonful of salt to the porridge in the bowl, stirred it, and was about to feed it to her 7-month-old nephew. I hurriedly stopped her. "Sister-in-law, what are you doing? Kevin is still so young, and you're already feeding him salt." Lola frowned, however, and said, with dissatisfaction, "Yes, your nephew has weak limbs. I heard that eating salt can build strength. What's the problem? Why are you making such a fuss? It's as if I'm trying to harm my own son." I ignored the emotion in her words and continued to press. "How long have you been feeding him salt?" Lola rolled her eyes and said unhurriedly, "About half a month." "Why?" Hearing this answer, alarm bells immediately went off in my mind. I quickly said, "Half a month? Babies under 1 year old shouldn't consume salt, as it can burden their kidneys and may lead to kidney failure or even death." Lola was shocked by what I said. She stammered and asked, Is it really that serious?" I didn't answer, but immediately picked up my little nephew and decisively asked my brother to take us to the hospital. Then I slowly said, "How serious it is will be determined by the doctor. The most important thing now is to take him to see a doctor." Sure enough, when we arrived at the hospital, the doctor said my little nephew's condition was already very serious. If it had been 2 days later, my little nephew might not have been saved. While my mom, Lola, and my brother were both panicking, I calmly paid the fees and took my nephew to get dialysis and admitted to the hospital, which ultimately saved his life. At first, my sister-in-law was very grateful to me. "Megan, thank you. If it weren't for you, Kevin would have been in danger." Although my brother isn't good with words, he still transferred me 1,000 yuan as a gesture of gratitude. But as my nephew grew up, things changed. My nephew reacts slower than others, and is noticeably weaker physically compared to his peers. I suspect this might be a lingering effect from consuming salt during infancy. But my sister-in-law believes it's because I gave my nephew kidney dialysis treatments. Later on, my young nephew developed uremia due to staying up late playing games and having irregular sleep patterns. During his adolescence, Lola hated me even more. She said furiously, "Are you happy now? You've ruined Kevin like this. Are you satisfied? Whose child didn't eat salt when they were little? How come other kids are just fine? You had to make a big deal out of nothing and take Kevin to the hospital to get his kidneys flushed. And now look, you've ruined his kidneys. Because of you. My Kevin has to start dialysis at such a young age. His whole life is ruined. Because of you. You have to take responsibility for him." Unlike my sister-in-law's unreasonable behavior, my brother seemed more sensible. He apologized to me on behalf of his wife. "Megan, don't take it to heart. With your sister-in-law, she just hasn't figured it out yet. Don't blame her. To make it up to me." He specially arranged an overseas trip for me, and my mom saying it would help me relax. Little did I know, this wasn't compensation. It was a trap in a foreign land. He conspired with my mom Lola to take me to a shady hospital, where they transplanted both my kidneys to Kevin. Kevin was reborn, while I died, with resentment. Fortunately, heaven gave me a second chance. This time, I decided to put away my kindness and respect others' fate. I played dumb. "The spice box." "What spice box?" Lola said impatiently. "The spice box for salt in the kitchen. It's right on the countertop." "Me? Countertop? What countertop?" Lola's face twitched, and she no longer had the intention to boss me around, instead turning to order my mom, who was tidying up the house. "Forget it. Mom, go get it for me." I did it on purpose. Of course, if I had fetched the salt for her, and something happened to my nephew today, she might have blamed me for it. I've even thought of the lines for her. Why is it that Kevin never had any problems before, but suddenly got sick after eating the salt you gave him today? You must have deliberately harmed Kevin to make him like this. Ugh. Just thinking about it is terrifying. After finally getting a second chance at life, I don't want to get involved in this mess again after my mom brought over the spice box. My sister-in-law, just like in her past life, scooped out a spoonful of salt from it and stirred it into the porridge my nephew was about to eat. At this point, my mom spoke up with a troubled expression. You're feeding Kevin so much salt every day. Won't it cause any health problems for him?" Lola, however, didn't seem to care. "What's the problem? Your grandson has no strength in his hands and feet. If I don't feed him salt, where will he get his strength? From Megan. You're a college student. Do you think I'm right?" After speaking, both of them turned their eyes to me in unison. How could I possibly tell her? I don't want to relive the misfortune of my past life again. At this thought, I pursed my lips and said, "Sister-in-law, I'm not a medical student. How would I know about this? You'd better make the decision yourself." Lola glanced at me sideways after hearing this, her face full of arrogance and disdain. "And you call yourself a college student? You know even less than I do. The child needs to eat salt." With that, she took the spoonful of porridge from the bowl, blew on it, and began feeding it to her nephew. My mother still seemed a bit uneasy. She turned to me and asked again, "Megan, I remember you had classmates in high school who studied medicine." "Right. Why don't you ask your classmates?" "So, you couldn't drag me into this, and now you're trying to drag my classmates in, too." "I'd be too embarrassed to involve others in this." I frowned. "Mom, I lost touch with my high school classmates long ago. Where am I supposed to ask for you? Besides, sister-in-law already said that eating salt is good for the child, yet you keep questioning it. Are you worried that sister-in-law, as a mother, would harm Kevin? Or are you implying that she lacks the intelligence and judgment to make decisions?" As soon as I said this, my mom immediately panicked. Lola even glared at my mom, her face filled with resentment. My mom quickly changed her words. "That's not what I meant." After a long pause, she finally conceded. "Fine. Since your sister-in-law has already said so, let's just follow her suggestion. I have no objections." Only then did Lola seem satisfied. After that day, I left without a moment's delay. In addition to my essential daily necessities, I also brought my ID card, degree certificate, household registration page, and other documents, making sure everything was foolproof. After all, chaos was about to erupt at home, and to prevent them from pinning the blame on me, I had to be fully prepared. I had no intention of repeating the mistakes of my past life and giving them another chance to hurt me. Lola was naturally willing. After all, she had long been eager for me to leave so she could turn my room into her walk-in closet. The only one reluctant to see me go was my mom, because, while I was at home, I would give her 1,000 yuan each month for household expenses. Once I left, it wouldn't be as easy for her to ask me for money. But seeing my sister-in-law's displeased expression, she had no choice but to agree. However, she still felt somewhat unwilling to let go. Just before I left, she held my hand and pleaded, "Megan, it hasn't been easy for the family to raise you all these years. Once you're settled there, remember to help out at home. Your nephew is still young, and the family needs money for everything right now. Family members should help each other." Help each other? What else do they do besides sucking the life out of me? But even though I thought so, I didn't argue with her. Instead, I played along and said, "You're right, Mom. We should indeed help each other. The round-trip fare, the first month's rent plus 3 months' deposit, and living expenses for this trip might add up to over 10,000. I don't have enough money. How about you cover this for me?" As soon as these words were spoken, my mother's face immediately darkened. She only wanted to squeeze money out of me, but never thought of giving me any. She struggled for a long time before finally forcing out a sentence. "I don't have money. Figure out your own problems yourself." With that, he left, without looking back. I didn't say a word, just curled my lips slightly, then silently turned off the recording button on my phone, since she chose to stand by when I needed help. No one has the right to blame me if I don't help when they're in need. Thanks to over a decade of work experience from my previous life, I've been thriving smoothly in the big city. I heard about my nephew again a month later. My mom gave me a call. Her sounded very anxious on the phone. "Megan, Kevin hasn't peed for several days now. His diaper has been completely dry. Could there be something wrong? His urine output will naturally decrease. With so much salt added to the complementary food, the osmotic pressure in the body rises, antidiuretic hormone is secreted, and urine output will naturally decrease. For adults, excessive salt intake can still be excreted through urine by drinking plenty of water. But for an infant, this isn't possible. Their kidneys are still very immature and have a weak ability to excrete salt. Salt is like poison to them. If a baby doesn't urinate for several days, it means the salt has already caused irreversible damage to their kidneys. Kevin is in a very dangerous situation. Of course, I didn't want to remind them. I didn't answer my mom's question, but instead asked her in return, "What did sister-in-law say?" My mom sighed and said, "Alas, your sister-in-law says Kevin is going through a growth spurt, and not urinating means he's absorbing all the nutrients. It's a blessing, but I can't help feeling something's not right." Hearing this, I almost couldn't hold back my laughter. Not urinating, because he's absorbing nutrients. How on earth did she come up with that? Suppressing my amusement, I put on a sincere face and said, "Mom, you're overthinking it again. What sister-in-law said actually makes sense. You should listen to her." Unexpectedly, as soon as I finished speaking, my mom got upset. She yelled at me, "What makes sense? Have you ever seen a child who doesn't pee for days? Are you really Kevin's aunt? Don't you care at all if something's wrong with Kevin's health? LOL. They're pinning the blame on me again. In my past life, whenever Kevin had any health issues, my mom and the others would blame me. This time around, I haven't interfered with them at all. I even moved thousands of miles away to avoid them. But when Kevin had problems, my mom still blamed me first. Seems they've always seen me as their scapegoat deep down. However, I won't indulge them this time. I sneered and said, "Mom, isn't that unfair? Kevin has his own mother, father, and grandmother by his side. Even if it was someone's turn to take care of him, it wouldn't be mine. Besides, even his own mother, my sister-in-law, says that Kevin not urinating is a blessing for him. As just an aunt, what right do I have to say anything more? Let's not talk about this anymore. I have work to do. Bye. With that, I hung up the phone before my mother could respond. The more I say, the more mistakes I might make. As long as I distance myself, that's enough. Saying too much might just give them ammunition to use against me. I don't know if my mother mentioned this to my brother and sister-in-law, but one thing I'm certain of, that is, whether my mother told them or not, they didn't believe it, and they remain utterly convinced that Kevin is blessed. With good fortune, a few days later, while scrolling through my social media feed, I came across a video posted by Lola at the dining table at home. My brother was drinking with a few of his buddies, while my mom held my nephew and ate on the side. My brother, getting carried away with the drinks, raised his voice and said, "A man who doesn't drink has wasted his life. Come on, son, have a sip, too." Then, he licked his own chopsticks, dipped them into his wine glass, and raised his hand to feed his nephew. By the time my mom tried to stop it, it was already too late. My brother's chopsticks had already reached the baby's mouth, and the 7-month-old nephew was fed a sip of wine. After tasting the wine, the little one's face immediately scrunched up into a comical expression. Everyone at the table burst into laughter. Lola was also laughing and scolding my brother on the side, her cheerful laughter filling the background. The caption for Lola's video went like this: "Drinking at such a young age. The kid's dad says it's a blessing covering mouth to laugh." Ha! A blessing. The blessing of restarting right. Where you are, birds of a feather flock together. My brother and Lola are a perfect match. One feeds salt, damaging Kevin's kidneys. The other feeds alcohol, harming Kevin's liver, making Kevin's kidneys and liver both bloom, swiftly sending him to meet the king of hell. I have to say, with parents like these, it's a miracle Kevin has survived this long. Of course, he probably won't survive much longer. Sure enough, that very night I received a call from my mom. On the phone, my mom cried out in a trembling voice, "Megan, Kevin is not doing well. You need to come back quickly." I had a feeling, but I still pretended to be worried, and asked, "Not doing well? Mom, slow down. What exactly happened?" My mother said, while wiping her tears, "I don't know either. The doctor said Kevin might have alcohol poisoning. Kevin is in a very dangerous situation now, and his condition is not good at all." In the background, I could hear my brother arguing with Lola. Lola shouted at my brother, "It's all your fault. If you hadn't insisted on feeding Kevin alcohol, would he be like this? How could a child his age drink?" My brother fired back, without backing down. "What kid hasn't been given a taste of alcohol with chopsticks when they were little? Why is it only Kevin who ended up like this? Maybe you should reflect on whether you've been neglecting his care, making his resistance so weak. Don't just blame everything on me." At that moment, a female doctor emerged from the emergency room. My mother quickly stepped forward and asked, "Doctor, how is our Kevin doing? Has he recovered from alcohol poisoning?" The doctor let out a deep sigh. "Alas, the most pressing issue now isn't his alcohol poisoning, but his kidneys. His kidney condition is very poor at the moment. We need to perform dialysis on him immediately to give him a fighting chance. Please sign the surgical consent form first." As soon as the doctor finished speaking, Lola became frantic. She knocked the surgical consent form out of the doctor's hand and angrily shouted at them, "What's wrong with his kidneys now? He hasn't even recovered from alcohol poisoning yet. And now you've ruined my child's kidneys. Do you even know how to treat patients? Dialysis? How can you wash kidneys? What if they get damaged? You're wrong. Is your hospital deliberately scamming us? Lying to us about our child being sick to make us pay? What a heartless hospital." The doctor was shocked by the sister-in-law's behavior. Suppressing her anger, she explained, "The child has been diagnosed with hypernatremia. Have you been feeding him salt, and in large amounts?" Lola froze, but she quickly snapped back to reality and retorted, "So what if we did? Have you ever seen a child who doesn't eat salt?" Kevin was weak in his hands and feet. Shouldn't I have fed him salt? The doctor's patience had reached its limit. She asked sternly, Who told you that babies need to eat salt? Infants under 1 year old require very little salt. The salt content in breast milk, eggs, and other foods is already more than enough to meet their needs. Adding extra salt will only increase the burden on their kidneys. The child's condition is critical now. If you keep making a scene like this, you'll only delay the treatment. Seeing this, even my brother, as foolish as he was, didn't dare to delay any further. Doctor, we agreed to dialysis. Please take care of Kevin. Then he quickly picked up the surgical consent form and signed his name. Lola got anxious. She scolded my brother again. Did I tell you to sign it? You just signed it. I already said the hospital is just trying to scam money. How could you? However, before she could finish speaking, I heard a sharp sound. Snap! It was the sound of a slap. Then came my brother's furious scolding. Can't you just shut up? If it weren't for you feeding Kevin salt, would he have ended up like this? And now you're still making trouble and not letting the doctor treat Kevin. Are you trying to kill him on purpose? Are you even Kevin's real mother? My sister-in-law was stunned by the slap. After a long pause, she finally snapped out of it and burst into wailing sobs. Leo, how dare you hit me? You actually hit me over some female doctor. I'm more worried about Kevin's illness than anyone else. You never care about the child. It's always me who takes care of him. And now, when he's sick, you blame me instead. Are you even human? She grew angrier as she spoke, and in the end, she actually lunged forward and started fighting with my brother. The phone was filled with the sounds of punches and kicks. My mom was so anxious she started crying. Stop fighting. Please stop fighting. What are you doing? Kevin is still in there, his life hanging by a thread, and you're fighting instead. After wailing for a while, she finally remembered me. She picked up her phone and sobbed to me, Megan, come over right away. Your brother and sister-in-law are fighting, and you're the only one left who can make decisions. Kevin is counting on you. They want me to make decisions for Kevin. Are you asking me to take the blame for them again? How is that fair? I put on an anxious and hesitant expression, tactfully refusing her. Oh, Mom, I'd love to go, but I really can't get away right now. As soon as I finished speaking, my mom got angry. Is your job more important than your nephew? You're Kevin's own aunt. And, with him in this state, you still have the heart to focus on your work? Nonsense. Of course work is more important. Where did she get the confidence to think that my cheap nephew would be more important than my career? I can't even avoid them fast enough. What makes her think I'd rush to help them? However, despite my inner disdain, I didn't show a hint of it on my face. I pretended to be helpless as I spoke. Mom, I don't want it to be this way either. But I just found a job and signed the employment contract not long ago. If I leave now, not only will I not get paid, but I'll also have to compensate the company for their losses. In that case, forget about helping out. You might even have to bail me out of trouble. Besides, my nephew really needs the money right now. Even if I can't help, I shouldn't hold you back. In short, if you want me to come back, you'll have to pay up. The reason I don't want to go back is simply to save them money. I have my own difficulties. After a moment of silence, my mother asked, how much would that cost? I did the math, probably around 10 or 20,000. If it were just 1 or 2,000, my mom might have considered shelling out some money to get me back to help. But 10 or 20,000 was completely out of the question, because she valued that 10 or 20,000 yuan more than my life. Sure enough, upon hearing this, my mother immediately changed her tune. She compromised. Forget it. Don't come back. I'll try my best to persuade your brother and sister-in-law myself. With that, she hung up the phone after the kidney wash. Kevin was immediately sent to the ICU. He stayed in the ICU for nearly half a month, with daily treatment costs exceeding 10,000, leaving my brother and his family struggling to cope. To raise money for the treatment, my brother even started a crowdfunding campaign on Shuidaku. However, due to his limited connections, he managed to raise only a little over 10,000 yuan after several days of effort, which was far from his fundraising goal of 300,000. Later, he thought of me. 3 days later, I received a call from my brother. Megan, are you tired from working outside? Is it hard? A weasel giving New Year's greetings to a chicken harbors no good intentions. In my memory, whenever he shows concern for me, it's just setting a trap for me to fall into. I said cautiously, "I'm doing fine. What's up, bro?" My brother said, with a laugh, "You don't need to work so hard as a girl. After all, you'll have to return to the family to take care of the children after marriage. For a girl, a good job is not as important as a good husband. Having a wealthy husband is what really matters." I finally understood what nonsense he was holding back. He's short on money and wants to sell me off for a dowry. I said calmly, "Bro, thanks for your concern, but I don't want to get married right now." My brother got agitated. "You silly child, why can't you take good advice? You're already 25, which practically rounds up to 30. Aren't you worried about marriage? If you keep dragging your feet, you'll become an old maid. Who would want you then?" Then, the topic took a turn. By the way, I know a high-quality young man, accomplished at a young age. He used to have a government job, but now he's started his own business. He's a big boss in the catering industry. Very manly. Why don't you two try getting to know each other? After saying this, they added rather unnaturally, "I'm only doing this for your own good." I get it now. He had been in prison before, and after his release, he pushed a cart selling pancakes, with violent tendencies. I asked coldly, "So, how much bride price did this pancake vendor, who's been to prison and loves to hit people, promise you?" My brother blurted out at first, 300,000, then suddenly became alert and said defensively, "Don't even think about touching this 300,000. Let me tell you, this money is for your nephew's medical treatment. You can't take it away. Pretty ridiculous. He wants to sell me for money, yet tells me not to even think about that money." I sneered, 430,000. You'd sell me to such a scumbag? Lo, are you even human? My brother hurriedly retorted, "What kind of trash? How can you say something so harsh? This is discrimination. Even the government gives people a chance to reform. Yet you still discriminate against them like this. That's really not good. Besides, he doesn't hit people anymore. I've talked with him for so long, and he hasn't hit me. What are you so needlessly worried about? I don't care. You come back and get married right now, or don't blame me for being harsh." Of course, I wasn't going back after finally escaping. How could I possibly throw myself back into that pit of fire? I simply ignored him. I'd like to see how he dares to threaten me in a society governed by law. It wasn't until the next day that I realized. It turns out his way of being rude to me was to tarnish my reputation in the family group chat. Megan and I are siblings by blood, but when Kevin had an accident, she didn't show any concern at all. She wouldn't even come back to see Kevin. My mom spent a lot of money to put her through college, but who would have thought she'd raise such an ungrateful wretch? When the family needed her, she didn't contribute a single penny, just living it up in the big city. Lola also chimed in, adding fuel to the fire. Come to think of it, the reason Kevin got so sick is partly because of Megan. She's a college student, so she must know that babies shouldn't eat salt. But when she was at home, she didn't remind me, and just let me feed Kevin salt. I suspect she did it on purpose to harm Kevin. Mom, don't you think so? As she spoke, she even pushed my mom forward, trying to make her a witness. My mother only said one sentence. Sigh. I never expected Megan to turn out like this. She seemed to merely utter an unrelated remark, without directly agreeing with my sister-in-law's words. Yet her statement carried more weight than anything else. She never imagined I would become such a selfish and malicious person. So any heinous act I commit now appears to have a logical precedent, because I am rotten to the core. Others would definitely believe her. After all, she's my mother. Who would think a mother would deliberately slander her own daughter? Moreover, although my mother favors sons over daughters, she has never shown the slightest hint of it in front of outsiders. To others, she might even seem to favor girls over boys. So, when she said it, everyone believed her. Relatives took turns mocking me in the group chat. What a heartless child. So young, yet so wicked. Susan worked so hard to raise her, never expecting to end up with such an ungrateful wretch. Even if she doesn't care, She should at least return the money spent on her college education to help Susan through this difficult time. Otherwise, it would be utterly unjust. Right. At least return the college tuition money. At Megan. By the time I saw them, these condemning messages had already piled up to 99 plus. The relatives had only one goal, and that was to make me repay the money. However, my mom and the others were well aware that I currently had no money to give them. So, she pretended to compromise a little. Sigh. How can parents and children hold grudges overnight? I'm not insisting that Megan pay up. I just want her to come visit me. My brother said sympathetically. My mom has been too upset recently. Because of Kevin. Her only wish now is to talk to my sister. But, sigh. What do you mean by talk to her? Clearly, she just wants to use relatives to pressure me into going back so they can exchange me for a dowry. Sure enough, as soon as they finished speaking, the relatives became even more agitated. They criticized me relentlessly, leaving no room for redemption. It seemed like they wanted to tie me up and drag me back to my mom in the next second, forcing me to apologize to her properly. One call after another came in, all from those aunts and uncles in the group chat, all here to uphold justice for my mom. I ignored every single one, because I was busy gathering evidence, including the chat records from my university days, when I asked my mom for living expenses, while working part-time to support myself, only to be scolded by her, as well as screenshots of my monthly transfers to her after graduation, and the call recordings between me and my parents during this period. All sorts of evidence were compiled together. Then, when the atmosphere in the group reached its peak, I sent it out. The persona my mom had painstakingly built over the years instantly crumbled. Only then did the relatives realize that what my mother had said about me traveling every holiday during my college years was a lie. The truth was I was working on assembly lines to earn my own living expenses. My mother's claim about raising daughters in luxury and sons in hardship was also false. The reality was that she had long prepared a wedding house for her son, while her daughter not only had no property, but also had to contribute to household expenses every month. My mother's claim of missing me and wanting to see me was another lie. Her real intention was to trick me into returning home to marry a criminal in exchange for a dowry. They never expected me to keep all this evidence. Caught off guard, they were left speechless for a long time, unable to come up with any rebuttal. At this point, I turned my spearhead toward Lola again. Sister-in-law, you were the one who said, children must eat salt to have strength. So why are you blaming me for not reminding you? It's true I'm a college student, but go ask any random college student on the street. How many of them would know that a 7-month-old baby shouldn't eat salt? Accusing me of deliberately harming Kevin is pure slander. After hearing my self-defense, the relatives' attitudes immediately changed. They weren't entirely on my mother's side to begin with. At most, they're just watching the show and incidentally standing up for the side, with justice on their side. Before, it was my mom who had justice on her side. Now it's me. So now they've actually started feeling sorry for me and are speaking up for me in the group chat. Susan, this is not right. How could you treat Megan like this? Yeah, Megan is such a good kid. I always said she couldn't have done something like that. Turns out what you said was false after all. You're being way too biased towards boys over girls. How could you marry your daughter off to an ex-convict? Isn't that just throwing your own child into the fire? My, and my brother and sister-in-law tried to be clever, but ended up losing out. Not only did they fail to trick me into going back, but they also ruined their own reputation. Truly tragic, because he couldn't get the money from me. My brother had to sell his house to cover Kevin's medical expenses. Half a month later, Kevin was finally transferred from the ICU to a general ward. It seems he has recovered, but this is only the beginning. Just as my brother and sister-in-law were happily celebrating their son's recovery, the doctor poured cold water on their joy once again. Although the child's life was saved, the salt has severely damaged his kidneys, leading to kidney failure. You'll need to bring him in for dialysis every week. Lola didn't react immediately. Dialysis? How long will it take? When will he fully recover? The doctor sighed and paused before speaking. Always. Lola collapsed directly onto the ground. The three of them were crying together at the door of the hospital room. Their sky had collapsed. The reason they had insisted on treating Kevin all along was because they held on to hope, the hope that Kevin could be completely cured. But now, that hope has been shattered. In my previous life, I got Kevin to the hospital in time, so he was fine after dialysis. Later, his uremia was entirely due to his own recklessness. But now it's different. Kevin will never be able to live like a normal person. He has had to endure the agony of dialysis since infancy, and it will continue until his death. After crying for a while, my brother started slapping Lola frantically. Slap asterisk. It's all your fault that Kevin ended up like this. Slap asterisk. Why the hell did you have to feed him salt? Couldn't you have at least looked it up online before doing it? You don't even deserve to be a mother. Are you happy now that Kevin has turned out like this? Are you satisfied? You've ruined his entire life. In no time, my sister-in-law's face was swollen like a pig's head. She wanted to fight back. But when a grown man uses all his strength to beat a woman, she simply has no chance to resist. This time, my mother didn't stop him. Not only did she not stop him, but there was even a hint of satisfaction on her face when she saw my brother hitting Lola, as if she wished she could join in and hit her herself. After all, to her, a grandson is far more important than a daughter-in-law. She also harbored hatred toward Lola. She hated Lola for ruining her golden grandson. From that day on, my sister-in-law's status at home plummeted. She used to have the final say in the household, and my mother had to cater to her every need, with caution. But now things are different. My mother goes square dancing every day, and the heavy responsibility of taking care of Kevin falls entirely on her shoulders. Not only that, but my brother also stopped giving her his salary card. Whenever she needed money, she had to humbly ask my brother for it, begging for a long time just to get a 100 or 200 yuan. She had to budget meticulously every day, living in misery. But she didn't hold any resentment, because she always believed that my brother was just angry with her, and as long as she treated him well, she could eventually move him and make him forgive her. Her beautiful dream lasted until half a year later. That day, on her way home from the hospital with Kevin, she suddenly decided to reward herself with a cup of milk tea at a nearby mall. She hadn't had milk tea for over half a year, but after buying the milk tea, she turned around and passed by a Western restaurant. Coincidentally, through the glass window, she spotted my brother inside the restaurant accompanied by a young woman. He was chatting and laughing with her, and the distance between them was quite intimate. Lola, as if possessed, walked into that restaurant. I happened to hear my brother coaxing that girl. "I want to marry you and have a child with you." The girl laughed. "What about that old hag at your home? And that sickly son of yours?" My brother scoffed. "Them? I've been wanting to replace them for a long time. If you're willing, I can kick them out anytime." Lola went crazy. Only then did she realize that this man wasn't actually angry. He had long since grown distant from her. While she was thinking about how to reform this man, he was contemplating how to get rid of her and abandon his own son. She went mad. She picked up a dinner knife from the nearby table and stabbed it straight into my brother's temple, stabbing him repeatedly. She cursed all the while. "Scumbag, go die." My brother died on the spot. After stabbing my brother, she tried to stab the girl, too, but was overpowered by her instead. She had no choice but to give up. Before long, the police arrived at the scene, and Lola was immediately taken into custody. In just one day, my mother lost her son, and her daughter-in-law was locked up in prison. The only thing left for her was my nephew, who required weekly dialysis and daily meticulous care. She no longer had time for square dancing, as just tending to Kevin's daily needs exhausted her completely. She started searching for me everywhere, but I made it clear to her that if she wanted alimony, she should sue me in court, and I would pay whatever the court ordered, not a penny more. She began calling me an ungrateful wretch again, but this time no one believed her anymore. Everyone thought she got what she deserved. Later, everyone said Lola had gone mad, because in court, she didn't defend herself at all. Instead, she kept shouting, No, it's all Megan's fault that I became like this. She knew perfectly well babies shouldn't eat salt. Yet she never reminded me in her entire life. She did it on purpose. I want to be reborn. I want to go back and save my Kevin, reclaim everything that's mine. It seems she has been reborn. The irony is she doesn't regret the harm she caused me in her past life, only resenting me this time for not warning her. She never reflects on herself, always blaming others. This kind of selfishness is ingrained in their bones. But rebirth? She must be overthinking it. How could fate possibly give a wicked person another chance to do evil? The reason she's been reborn now is simply to let her die, with full awareness. This is her karma in this lifetime. She, my mother, and my brother all got the retribution they deserved. As for me, I've embraced a new life after breaking free from those vampire-like family members. Every single day has been incredibly peaceful. My career is going smoothly, and I have a few close friends in life. After work every day, it's all about eating, drinking, and having fun. This was something I wouldn't have dared to dream of in my past life. At that moment, my phone rang. It was a WeChat message. Should we have hot pot or barbecue later? I laughed. Let's go for hot pot. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comment section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you like the story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.